Bonsoir, mes camarades de jeu, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is Reign of Terror. It was developed by Mark Morrison and is available on the Chaosium website. Our maitre de jeu is Nick Swan, and this is episode 8. Our recap will be given by Jason Melnichuk as his character, Vivandière Joseph Ugel. So, without any further delays, commençons notre voyage dans les ténèbres. Jason?
Hi. So when we last left off, the group that now includes about 50 soldiers, carts, wagons, and everything that goes along with the small garrison of troops, including Baboon's mounted swivel gun, were camped out for the night when a terrible commotion woke the party. We found out that Sergeant was murdered in his sleep by some half-wit thug trying to impress the Count. Needless to say, he was worked over a few times and then hung to dangle at the end of a rope. After that, we had no choice but to move past what had happened, such as the life of a soldier. The first wave of the plan was for Dupois, Pressy, Michael, and myself were to go over the wall and scout out the grounds, while our new acting Sergeant, Barbon, readied all the troops around the wall and at key points to ensure no one escaped. We all heard strange animal cries, dogs, pigs, donkeys, as we pushed through the undergrowth, only to see these animals being slaughtered and their heads being brought into the house. Dupois then snuck into the stables to confirm that the Count was in fact there, or should I say his custom carriage was there, and it was. Shortly after that, the aristos began showing up for the party. 9 or 10 carriages in all had arrived. But the strange thing was that when some of them were walking into the house, they removed their wigs. Strange, very strange. I was then ordered to jump back over the wall to inform the new sergeant about the few armed guards at the gate and about the attack signal. The lantern would be lit and the men inside to take the gate. I think Dupois only sent me over the wall to keep me out of the fighting. He seems to try and help me out in his own way, but he would never admit to that, and don't tell him I said so. The men took the gate by surprise. The signal was lit, and the soldiers pushed through the gate, over the walls, and marched up the drive towards the house. Our main party had to fight their way through as Dupois drove one of the men through with his bayonet, and the others fired shots and fought their way towards the door. Now things get really strange. After gaining access to the house, we are shocked to see what can only be described as a makeshift barnyard. Animals, hay, food all over the floor, well, animals or humans acting like animals, wearing the severed heads of animals on their heads, biting, barking, fornicating, a truly shocking scene. Everyone is looking around the house, a midget dressed as the deceased Dufon, animal troughs filled with wine, windows nailed shut, and if things were not strange enough, a mist begins to seep inside the room, slowly taking form little by little. Is it mist or man? This is where it blurs a bit, but the next thing I can see is the Count de Fenelix standing there before us in a room full of human animals, and the madness begins. Back to you, Tom.
There's a moment of curious silence, almost stillness, as Fenelix stands there in the room. For a second, even the aristos stop their cavorting. A few servants, real servants, not the thugs dressed as footmen, even the servants stop for a moment, as do you. And then he fixes you with his gaze, and there's almost a hint of a smile playing on his lips. And once again, he looks towards you, or rather through you with a 1,000-yard stare, and says, oh, we have more guests. How lovely.
You are under arrest, monsieur.
The party is over.
He takes a few steps towards the dwarf dressed as the Dauphin, and almost theatrically leans forward down to the small man's level, looking straight into his eyes, and says, Dieter, I think perhaps it is time for you to entertain our guests. And gestures towards a harpsichord. The dwarf, moving very strangely, as though he's not entirely in control of his own body. There's a stiffness, as though he's resisting, trying to resist what he's doing. And on his face, this horrible, tragic look of resignation and misery. He starts slowly and mechanically walking towards the harpsichord. Everyone give me a spot hidden.
Ooh, I got an 8.
Pass.
8 out of 55.
Pretty
That
cool.
is an extreme.
Regular
Pass.
pass.
Regular pass.
Regular.
89 out of something not nearly that high. I failed. But I'm pulling my pistol out and be like, you will not be giving any more orders, Comte de Fenelec.
I'm going to give the spot hidden to Bowman, because he does such a good role. Because you're really the tallest member of the group, and because most of the aristos are still sort of kneeling on the floor, although one or two have stood up and are looking sort of bewildered, as though they don't quite know where they are. You can see from your vantage point some sheet music set out on the harpsichord. While the music itself looks like any other sheet of music, what strikes you are is the fact that there are really ridiculous amounts of what look like tiny scribbled annotations in the margins all around the score, and curious images. Some of them glyphs, some of them weird little sketches and doodles, which catches your eye. It seems a strange thing. Now, sheet music is not necessarily an expensive or collectible thing, but this is a handwritten score. This is a composer's work. Normally, these sorts of things are set out quite meticulously, but this seems otherwise.
Okay. How far away is it from where I'm at?
It's about 8 feet from where you are,
And
the man he referred to as Dieter, he's about halfway between you and the harpsichord now. He's moving quite slowly,
but he's moving towards there. I'm gonna run over there and snatch it up and see what happens with Fenelec. I imagine the rest of my party has either guns trained on him or they have their weapons at reach. but I'm gonna run over there and try to snatch up the sheet music.
He definitely sees what you're doing, and you hear him say, "I see you're determined to spoil my fun." And as you turn back to the sound of his voice, and this applies to all of you, he appears to be several feet nearer to the harpsichord than he was before, and none of you, some of you, didn't turn away while this was happening. He just seems to be there. Oh, and I also need you all to make a spot hidden. I'm not a spot hidden. I'm sorry, a sanity roll.
5.
Which I forgot to do last time because
the mist, right?
you just saw a mist turn into a man.
Fail.
21 out of 70. Success. Hard success.
45 out of 68. Success.
I got a 57 out of 60, so that's a success.
Okay, anyone who fails, just
I failed it.
Just 1 point.
Okay.
Well, if I may, I'm going to react like my character would react, which is I'm a religious individual, and I think he's the devil. So I say, "You devil, you are under arrest." And I am going to fling what I have in my hand at him.
Okay.
To his face.
Give me a throw roll.
Okay. Throw. Oh, great. I got a 52 out of 60.
Okay. You throw this substance into his face, and his initial reaction is that he just stands there and looks at you rather indignantly, and his head tips back ever so slightly, as though he's just about to start laughing at you, when halfway through that movement, his eye closes abruptly, and he begins rubbing at his face, and he grimaces and seems confused.
Okay. Well, I think we should take that opportunity to subdue him, if that's physically possible.
Can I hit him with the back of my rifle? And club him?
Well, you need to move much closer to him. He's about 5 or 6 feet away from
I
you.
remember we don't want to kill him.
Now, how
That's why I
close?
said hit him with the back of the wooden stock. Or jab it in his gut, maybe.
All right. Well, you're 5 feet away. You got to move towards him.
Well, how far away is he from me?
About 3 feet.
So I'm closest. I'm going to try to subdue him.
Who has manacles? Or are they still out on that cart? Or coming on the cart?
They're coming on the cart.
Okay. I'm going to start looking around for something to tie his hands with.
Well, man, how are you going to try and subdue him?
Well, you said that he's kind of out of it right now, so I want to hit him maybe in the face with the butt of my rifle.
Okay. Give me a roll.
That will be brawl. Ooh. Huh. Can I spend luck? Well, no, this is combat. Can I push this roll?
I don't think you can push combat either.
I don't think you can with combat.
Okay. Well, I missed by 2, so.
Okay.
He's fast.
Just bear with me a minute because I forgot to call up his stats.
I use
Right.
that.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, I told Mick that on those 2 days we were off, I went to the kitchens and I ground up a whole bunch of spices because I heard he was real allergic to something. And I had him in a handkerchief in my hands.
I recall you doing that, and I don't know some of the other games that you guys have played. Maybe horror is it that Fenelick has been involved in?
Yeah.
But like out of character, just based on game chatter, I think I'm figuring out what's going on faster than Pressy would have in game.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Remember also that we're superstitious. I mean, we are. This is 17.
He seems
Okay.
to be in discomfort. He seems to be he certainly seems to be affected by the garlic. Not in the way that you'd been led to believe when it was described. It was mentioned to you as though he was having some sort of allergic reaction.
Seizure, yeah.
Or seizure. But what's happening at the moment is that he just seems slightly disorientated. But he is when you've encountered him the first time and when you encountered him just now, he seems very, very nonchalant. But now he's just slightly fidgety, and his lips are back a little bit, as
It's
though
because
he's
I know he is the devil.
and he's rubbing his face from time to time.
So it gives us a bit of an advantage because he's not concentrating.
Yeah, he definitely seems preoccupied with whatever you've thrown in his face.
Well, since I threw it and I'm right in front of him, well, a few feet, I'm going to try and grapple him and throw him to the ground.
Okay. Give me a brawl roll then.
I got a 78, but my brawl is 85.
Okay.
My strength is 80.
Oh.
Here's where my
Okay.
neck snaps.
Okay. Well, you move to grab him. He attempts to just step out of your way, which he does very deftly. But just at the last moment, he hesitates, and again, just does this.
It's like getting worse, isn't it? Yeah.
And you manage to grab hold of him, but he's just standing there. And rather worryingly, he's not struggling at all. He just tilts his head to one side and looks down at you.
Mon Dieu, it's like attacking a statue.
To your knees, Fenelek. I'm going to put my pistol away,
He's the devil.
draw my hatchet out.
Dupois.
So I've really more or less got a hold of his clothes.
You've got a you've got a hold of his jacket,
but I can't.
He isn't struggling, which strikes you as odd, and he still seems very much preoccupied with the substance you threw in his face. And he looks at you. He looks deep into your eyes. Make a power roll for me, please.
I got an 08. Maybe I need new dice. I found a number of 08s. Seems like it's hitting that too much.
There's a moment, just for a second, you feel, even for longer than that, it feels like quite a while. You feel as though your resolve, your free agency is being sapped from you. It becomes very, very difficult to hold on to him. Not because he's struggling, because he isn't, but more that just you don't want to. And it takes really a supreme effort of will. You really have to sort of summon up your resolve to just hold him harder.
Trying to take my mind.
I'm gonna turn my hatchet around and then crack him across the side of the head with the back side of it and say, "To your knees."
Why do you say everything with a smile?
Life should be enjoyed, whether it's a fine wine, the company of your children, or cracking a blasphemer across his head. Oh my God, a 0-1.
Okay.
Ow.
And again, I'm grabbing something, whether that's linens off the table or nearby drapery to try to tie him up, since we don't have anything else here yet.
Okay, roll for damage on that. That actually got through.
Should I just use the regular axe damage or use it as a club damage since I'm hitting him with the back of it?
Yeah, small club. So give me 1d6 plus
Okay.
any damage bonus.
6 damage.
6 damage. Okay. You give him quite a.
Wait, I just do max automatically, right? If it's a crit.
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
Sorry, 10 damage then.
Okay. Well, you hit him a substantial blow over the back of the head, and you feel. I mean, you're a soldier. This isn't the first time you've hit someone round the head. You know what you're doing. You know what it feels like. And it feels like hitting someone round the head. It feels like you've just fractured this man's skull. Traditionally, at this point, this is when someone drops to the floor. But he simply just clutches the back of his head. Well, not even clutches. He just turns to face you and brings his hand up and feels the back of his head and inspects his hand, which is now covered in blood, and just inspects the blood on his fingers, rubs it between his fingers, and looks at you. Give me a power roll.
We need to crucify.
43 out of 70, which so not quite a hard success. Just standard.
Oh, bloody hell. Right, well, you nonetheless managed to resist.
We meet again eye to eye, Count.
I wanted to see if I could step up and swing at the back of his knees or his knee with my gun. Not the bayonet side, the club side.
What's Pressy doing, though? He hasn't done anything yet.
Maybe I had the mute on. I'm trying to get something that to wrap around him or to be able to bind his arms, whether that's linens off the table or draperies off the window, whatever's closest to just rip and be ready to bind him up as soon as I can get a purchase on his hands.
Are there cords on the drapes? Maybe.
Yes, there are.
Yeah. Well, that would be perfect then.
Probably take a turn to extract enough of it to tie someone up.
Okay.
Dupois.
Hmm.
Almost the moment that he breaks his gaze with Baban. The Count brings up his other hand, the hand that isn't covered in blood. And you notice that he's got really substantial fingernails. I mean, they're terribly unkempt fingernails for an
He's the
aristocrat.
devil. Yeah.
And he just swipes at you with his hand.
And I'm grappling him, so I really can't like dodge very far out.
For fuck's sake. And somehow misses.
Garlic's a hell of a drug, kids.
Well, he's not garlic's a hell of a drug.
Well, he goes to swipe you, but because of your close proximity, what he actually does is just he just sort of hits your shoulder with his elbow, but not even in a manner that really injures you. It's just a sort of glancing blow, where really you've kind of accidentally blocked him by just getting in the way.
Okay. But it sort of swung me around, so
yes,
I'm still trying to grapple to pull him down to the ground, but I guess he's just too in control.
Obstinate.
I accidentally sort of interrupted Jason. So what were you saying, Jason?
I wanted to swing, hold the barrel and just kind of like swing at his kneecap.
Okay.
Or the back of his knees, or
Yeah, depending on how it's positioned, because I just want to make sure I don't hit Dupois. So if the back is open or the side, whatever.
The back of it, maybe it'll bring him down finally.
Right.
Yeah.
So 88 out of 60. So no.
Okay. It looks as though he's whatever had affected him is waning a little. He still looks very disorientated, but he just about manages to get out of the way as you go to hit him. And he's sort of spinning Dupois around with him as he does this. It's almost like they're dancing. It's sort of it's
and I'm a big fellow.
Almost funny in a dark kind of way.
I'm a big freaking fellow.
I'm gonna try hitting him the back of his knees to see if I'll have a better success with it. I'm trying to get him down. No. That is a 98.
Again, he's whirling around.
Do I have the cord yet?
I'm screaming, he's the devil, he's a devil. He's not a human being, he's a devil.
It'll take you the rest of this round to get the cord.
Shoot the fucker. And I'm also yelling, put on the mayor.
Now, while this has been going on,
I think Dupois is losing it.
The little man has made his way to the harpsichord. And it is sitting at the harpsichord with his hands on his lap, seemingly waiting for something. And curiously, the reaction of the aristocrats, very odd, as is the reaction of the servants in the room. Now, it's only been a few seconds that you've been tussling with Fenwick, but while this has been happening, another one or two of the aristocrats wearing the animal heads have stood up from where they were on all fours on the floor, and you notice that one or two of them have even removed the animal heads they were wearing. And your eye is drawn in particular to one man who's wiping the blood from what is still a freshly beheaded animal, wiping the blood from his eyes and blearily looking around the room with a look of confusion on his face.
The devil has them under a spell.
Our soldiers, I'll point to our soldiers to monitor the guests, the aristocrats. Don't let them get up. Don't let them leave.
We should perhaps clear them from the room.
Well, we're in the middle of a fight. Sort of. A pummeling.
Actually, instead of doing that, I'll scream to the soldiers, get the aristocrats out. Put them in the wagons. We were here to actually arrest these people anyway. And if they are under his spell, as you say, perhaps getting them away from him will break it or keep them at least, out of our hair at the moment.
Several of the soldiers rush into the room in response to your command, but pretty much as soon as they enter the room, they're preoccupied by the sight of Fenwick.
Yeah.
I mean, they will be going about their business. They will be doing what you've told them to do, but they're rather taken aback. They're genuinely quite shocked by what they're seeing, because now this with every passing second, he looks less and less like a man.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, particularly Dubois, up close to him, you can see that he's wearing makeup, but this is very, very strange. That whereas aristocrats tend to wear white face makeup, Fenwick is wearing more of a pinkish, flesh-toned makeup. And where you've been scuffling with him, you can see that some of it has rubbed away. And the skin underneath doesn't even really look like skin. It just looks like old yellowing parchment. Like an old man's skin.
Yeah.
But dried out, cracked. There's something very unwholesome about him.
Well, it completely reinforces this is Satan. This is the devil. As I'm swinging on him, I'm going to try to hold with one hand, grab my dagger, and jam it in him.
Well,
Okay.
where are you jabbing it into him at?
Wherever I can hit, right under his arm, since I'm sort of hanging on his arm at this point.
Well, we'll do that in a second.
Okay.
Because at this point, he is actually attacking you, or would be attacking you, if I hadn't just accidentally gone down a page in the scenario from where his stats are.
Don't let the page go down on me.
Oh, damn you, Adobe Acrobat. Oh, my nemesis. Right, there we go. Okay. He is. He brings his head back with a real look of hatred on his face now.
Okay.
As though it's taken a few seconds for him to process everything, particularly with regards to this head wound. And he just brings his head back. He opens his mouth wide, and for the first time, you realize that there's. Oh, you were right. There is something truly demonic about this man. His canine teeth. It's almost as if they're growing before your eyes, becoming longer and more pointed. And he grabs you very firmly and thrusts his head towards you.
Okay. I will scream out vampire in French, and I'm going to try to resist or parry or whatever.
Okay. Well, give me a brawl roll to see if you can just try and parry him.
76, but my brawl is 85, so it's just a regular.
He got a much better roll than that.
Okay. And I'm screaming, guys.
He clamps his mouth onto your neck, doing 2 points of damage.
Okay, I scream. Oh, you said 2 points of damage.
2 points of damage, and he's on you.
All right.
I mean, he's not just bitten you and let go. He has clamped onto your throat with his.
So I'm at the same time I'm beating on him. But...
When I see that, I just literally drop my rifle and pull a dagger, and I just try and just go at his back. Obviously, he's on Dupois and he's exposed.
At this moment, I'm going to have to ask you to all make a sanity.
Sanity. I was about to say.
Because you may have had your suspicions, but as he does this, as you see this glint of his teeth and him biting Dupois on the throat, it is quite clear what he is.
Yeah, so, I didn't make it.
It's a hard pass.
Now, I wish I had this roll for my attack with the knife. I rolled a 0-1.
Oh.
I wish that was.
They shoot him in the fucking head.
Yeah, I made up for that odd one earlier with 100 this time.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
So I didn't pass. And
why can't look?
What a bunch of useless pieces of shit you all are.
Chaosium, why can't you use page breaks with your stats so that the stats for each character or NPC are all on the same page?
Right.
Why must it be over 2 pages? It's really annoying. Those of you who made the sanity roll lose 1 point of sanity. Those who failed the sanity roll 1d8.
Four points of damage.
3.
Mick, with this new realization and everything coming to light at this point, Pressy definitely gets it. Would his occult knowledge give him any opportunity to have an idea of what to do about what he's now faced with?
Give me an occult roll. Because I think, yes, vampires and the occult, I think that's completely legitimate.
And he was studying to be a priest, too.
Yeah. I got a 25 out of 30.
Okay.
Cult knowledge doesn't necessarily mean that it's true.
Yes, you know the basics. You know that vampires don't like sunlight, and garlic, or holy water, or crosses, and you can vaguely remember something about running water. They can't cross running water, and there's can they can change into bats and wolves
And
things,
smoke and stuff.
and
like
smoke and you can't really think. I mean, it's mainly just things that you've picked up.
They can't see their own reflection in the mirror.
Yes, they can't see their own reflection. If you throw loads of seeds or kernels of wheat
Knotted rope.
on the ground, they have to count them,
it.
or they have to unknot knotted rope.
Well, I'd like to kind of change. He's got him. I'd like to go for the religious tie-in here, because I'm assuming that Pressy, even though he's no longer in the priesthood, would be wearing a cross. I'd like to drop the whole thing with the rope, grab the cross, and my approach is going to be getting this cross placed on his flesh as quick as possible.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's going to take you about a round. You've got to drop the drop the rope, get the cross out, run across to where he is, and put the cross on him. So we'll say you're going to be doing that. At the beginning of next round, you will reach him with your cross.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Who's next?
I believe I was trying to stab him.
Okay.
Let me see. 35 out of 60.
This is the blood on my...
Did you say 35?
35, and that goes under brawl, right? No, it's not my... It's, yeah, just a dagger.
Okay. He makes a concerted effort once again to just sort of step out of your way. But Dupois is a very large man. And attempting to move him out of the way, even for someone who obviously you can tell that Fenwick is incredibly strong. But the fact that he's sort of anchored onto Dupois' throat and trying to move him out of the way while looking at you sideways from that position, he doesn't quite make it. It's less to do with physical strength. It's more just a question of physics. It's just you can't. He can't manipulate Dupois in an effective way to get himself out of the way in time. So your knife does actually connect with him. Give me a damage roll, please.
What would that be? 1d4 or 1d6? It's just a small dagger.
I think it's D6.
My whole intent here is to get him off of Dupois more than actually hurting Fenwick.
Well, let's say 1d4.
1 point.
1 point of damage. He may have felt that. If he did, he isn't showing it.
Question.
He seems more intent on remaining attached to Dupois at this point.
Is there a fireplace or perhaps lanterns or something?
There are lanterns, yes.
I'm going to drop my rifle. I'm going to pick up a lantern, and I'm going to attempt to swing it at Fenwick.
Oh, I'm dead now.
Well,
Cover me in kerosene and light me on fire.
well, you know the drill. Stop, drop, and roll.
Now I've got the song "Kerosene" by Big Black in my
All right.
in my mind now, and
And I
give me an
imagine.
earworm.
Sorry, I imagine that's going to be a brawl. And that is a 29 out of 80. So that is a hard.
Okay, well he's going to attempt to dodge. Oh god.
He's probably just going to turn my body once that you hit me.
Now, here's a question. If he's trying to dodge this, is he going to let Dupois go or no?
Well, it doesn't matter because he catastrophically failed his dodge. So,
The blood is flowing.
it is now. I'm gonna just do this business with Dupois first because
Okay.
you are being bitten. Dupois, I'm gonna need you. Full blimey. I'm going to need you to reduce your strength by 9 points. Please.
9 points?
Yes.
So down to 71. Okay.
You can feel him sucking blood.
It.
However, there's a rather sharp and unpleasant sensation for a moment. This feeling of him biting you. Then the sucking. Then suddenly he just releases you.
Okay.
Make a luck roll for me, please.
Okay. $83. No.
Take 2 points of damage.
Okay.
Your left arm appears to be on fire.
Mon Dieu. Right.
As is Fenelix.
Okay.
Not in flames, but
right. His clothes.
His clothes on the right-hand side appear to be burning.
Okay.
You've no idea how this happened. When he had you, when he was biting you, everything was a blur.
Okay.
You weren't really aware of anything other than being bitten.
Okay. So I didn't get an attack in there, huh?
No.
Okay.
You just kind of went limp.
Okay. Because I had grabbed my dagger just as he grabbed me, and so okay, so I probably dropped my dagger then.
I don't know. Give me another luck roll.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, your arm's on fire.
I'm on fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've fallen.
You probably would have dropped it when your arm caught on fire.
Okay. So I fall into the ground. My arm's on fire. I use my blood to put out my my arm. No. I try to pat my arm out.
Okay.
But he's looming.
Yeah, you'll be able to. It's not. I mean, it's not like a raging inferno. It's just your arm is a bit singed. And,
well, wait a second. Is it because of the kerosene?
Doing
this ain't going to do a damn thing. But
well, you've only got a little bit of it on you.
Okay.
But it's mainly. I mean, the burning on your arm is mainly just the fabric.
Got to get the coat off.
Okay.
But you've also. I mean, you have sustained some burning to your hand as well.
Okay.
Because
and
that was.
Am I bleeding profusely?
From
the neck.
You're not really sure.
Okay.
You can't really feel where the bite was. It's not painful. You can't really feel.
My move will be to get away from him and recover myself so that I can go back and beat the shit out of him again.
Okay. Cauterize your neck with your burning hand.
I'll worry about that later.
When he pulls away,
yes,
I want to take my wooden hand, reach down into my apron, and wedge the powder bag that I have with me in between the fingers of my hand, and say, "I'm sorry for doubting you, Dupois. Fenelek. No. You cannot eat food without seasoning." And I'm going to try to jam my wooden hand with the bag into his mouth.
Give
Why
me
did you give him a warning when you...
give me a brawl roll, and I'll need at least a hard, because it's a very specific thing that you're trying to do.
No. I failed.
That's because
Okay,
you told him what you were going to do.
You stick your hand out at him, and he just he's just flailing around because he's trying to put out the fire. So he's nowhere near where he was just a second ago. He moves very quickly, but he does very much appear to have the fire under control.
Well,
Although you can see that it's burnt one side of his face as well by now.
let's make sure that it doesn't get under control. I'll pick up another lantern.
Okay.
And I will, again, try to hit him with another one.
All right. Give me a roll.
That is a 42 out of 80. So not quite a hard, but close.
This time, he was expecting it. And he just deftly steps out of the way.
Okay.
So the lantern doesn't hit him, but you throw the lantern, and then moments later, you hear screaming, and an elderly gentleman wearing the head of a donkey starts flailing around on the floor in flames.
What an ass.
Yeah. What is that strange sound?
It's the dwarf.
I'm glad you mentioned him.
That's why I mentioned it. I want to find out what happened to the dwarf.
Now, Fenelek composes himself, for pardon the pun, and he's quite a state now. Half of his face is burned. There is just a great mashed, compacted wound in the back of his skull, which is astonishing because that's the sort of wound that would kill a man. You don't understand how he's even still standing at this point. His clothes, while very beautifully made, are now burnt, and there's a terrible smell of burning hair. A section of his wig is just frazzled, and his demeanor has changed substantially. His aloofness is gone, and now he just looks like a wild animal. And he screams at the dwarf and just shouts out, "Dieter! Mr. Zahn! Play!" And hesitantly, the dwarf looks around for the sheet music, and Fenelek again shouts out, "Play!" And the dwarf begins to play the harpsichord. And at first it's quite a nice melody. But the sound of it starts to shift and contort. And there's something very unsettling and discordant about it. The sounds just don't seem right. It's just harpsichord music. It's just as far as you can see, just a normal harpsichord. But the arrangement, the chords, there's something about it makes you almost feel nauseous. Or is that the smell of blood and the food and the wine thrown everywhere and scorched hair, and you start feeling very, very apprehensive, as though the hair on the back of your neck is about to stand up. So at this point, Pressy has reached Fenelek.
With his cross.
With his cross, and you're all feeling this feeling of apprehension and anxiety when you hear this music. It's
It's the music of the devil.
It's horrible music. It's truly, truly horrible music.
But a brawl roll?
Yes, I think so.
It's a 27. That is a hard success.
It's quite a curious reaction. He sees you coming towards him. He sees you pull out the cross. You reach him, and with a really determined effort, you press the cross right into the bare skin of his face. And he just stands there and lets you do it. And absolutely nothing happens.
Can I act at this point?
Yes.
I am going to throw my dagger at the dwarf.
Okay, give me a throw roll.
26 out of 60.
Okay, could you roll for damage for that?
Dagger does... Where's my one?
I think it's D4
Oh.
plus damage bonus.
Bugger! Oh, it's the only place it bloody says it as well. He's supposed to be a violinist.
8.
And they've hidden it there, that he's a violinist. Well, I've
I like the
changed.
harpsichord, though. I've already
He's a
got harpsichord music
harpsichordist,
that'll work.
Yeah.
He's a harpsichordist.
I got 8 points.
So I've changed that. 8 points of damage.
Yeah, so...
Oh, that it goes. It goes into his back, right in the middle of the back. And you think it must have hit the spine, because he just goes limp and just falls off the chair. He might be dead. You can't see from where you are, but he's certainly not moving.
Okay.
And the music abruptly stops. And the instant that the music stops, that feeling of apprehension and anxiety lifts instantly.
Stop that man! Stop that Fenelek, the devil! I yell.
Your devilish trickery has come to an end. I'm swinging at him with my axe.
Well,
Like-
just as you're doing that, he is also Fenelek is attacking Pressy
Okay.
at this point.
Shit. I thought he didn't mind the cross.
And he just reaches out and swipes at you
With his
hand. And if you want, you can try and make a dodge roll.
Sure. Just a standard dodge. It's not a hard or anything. It's a 46.
46.
Uh-huh.
Okay, unfortunately, he did better than that.
All right, so he got me.
So he's got you for bloody hell. How much it does. Wow. Where's that gone? God, this is really annoying that it's spread over 2 pages. Okay. No. Does 1, 3, plus. Ooh, it does a mighty 5 points of damage.
That's almost half of my hit points. What threshold do you need to know about?
Half is what I need to know about.
Okay, not quite. Almost.
Okay, now,
Mick, I have been.
there's a little bit more for that. Sorry, I need you, Pressy, to make a power roll for me, please.
30 out of 55.
Okay, I'm afraid he did better than that, and I'm going to need you to lose 2 magic points as well, please.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, yes, Michelle.
So I have not yet fired my musket since we've entered here. It's still loaded. I wanted to see if I could pick it up from my feet, charge him with the bayonet, and just pull the trigger. It's like an all or nothing move.
Give me a luck roll to see how close your musket is to where you currently are.
Nope, it's a mile away. I got a 97.
Okay.
I must have kicked it with my foot during the scuffle.
Yeah, it's gonna take you the rest of this round to locate your musket and pick it up.
All right, if I don't see it on my feet, I'm just gonna stand ready with my dagger.
Okay. Yeah, he's like a few feet away from you, but you're standing there braced and ready. So moving to we need to do Beaumont.
All right, 1 second.
An empty chair.
Beaumont has gone invisible.
Just getting some water.
Cunning ruse.
Holy water? Excellent.
Yes. I'm going to try.
Du bois, holy water would just be a slang term for wine.
Yeah. I'm going to try for a luck roll to see if my musket is close by as well, because I dropped it to pick up the lantern to throw at it.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Give me a luck roll.
All right. 32 out of 50. So
There is very close to you. There is a musket. You're not entirely certain whether it's your musket or Ugel's musket.
okay.
But there's a musket next to you.
So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to fire at him.
Okay. Give me a musket roll, please.
Right, this isn't as good as the brawl, but we'll see. No, I either it misfires or I shoot wild. I got a 76 out of 55.
Okay. Okay. Well, yes, I'm going to say that that it misfires actually,
Okay.
because it was thrown on the floor, You go to shoot him, and what with all the jostling and the debris on the floor, nothing happens. It just seems there's no primer on the pan, so it doesn't ignite. But you can, as a result, and you're a soldier, so your instinct is immediately to reprime it.
Yeah.
So next round you will be able to fire it again.
Okay.
And let's next go to Baban.
So, no longer use the polite side of the hatchet. I spin it around and bring the axe down on him again, and the up and down crit train comes back into Good Town. 5 out of 60, so extreme success. So max damage, right? 12.
Oh, and he fails his dodge. Now this is really strange. You bring the hatchet up, and he's right in front of you. And you bring it down on him. And at first, it connects solidly, just as you'd expect it to. Just as it has in the past on battlefields when you've hacked into men with that same hatchet, it's the same feeling. But then, usually, you would hack and you'd pull it out and you'd be ready to go again. But this time you hack and the resistance just dissipates. And you find your hand just sort of falling forwards like that. And it's only quick thinking and the fact that you were preparing to bring it back again for another strike that stops you from swinging it down into your leg. As Fenelek just dissipates into a cloud of smoke. And I'm going to need everyone to make a sanity roll.
No. I got an 82 out of 54.
47 out of 53.
18 out of 67.
11 out of 54. I know it's the
For-
devil. I'm not afraid.
For a pass, 1 sanity point. For a fail, I'm afraid it's 1d6.
1d6. Wow. Okay. So that's 5. So that is a combined total of 9.
Oh dear.
Well,
Give it
5 in a
5.
shot. That's the bad thing.
Do the cards, Tom.
I haven't taken them out since we moved, so. I don't know if they're in the front or the back. This is not the right deck. 4 decks to go through.
Okay, let me use my deck of cards here
Yeah,
and
there
see
you
what I
go.
can come up with. Okay, and Beaumont, you see this happen, and then you become Mr. Bun the Baker. That's the wrong deck of cards, isn't it?
I know. Mine said that he became a Thompson submachine gun.
That would be fantastic. He becomes this strange futuristic weapon, and all of you make a sanity roll upon seeing him do it.
That actually would be kind of fun.
But then we exploit the idea, and yeah, it would be like, what was that anime, Soul Eater?
Oh, I was thinking of Megatron from Transformers, where he would transform into a gun.
Oh, in Soul Eater, that was always two people, one that will wield the weapon and the other one that would become the weapon.
Mm.
I'm just imagining him like the cartoony revolver from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, big goofy eyes and everything.
I tell you what.
I got
we'll
my
do.
cards.
You've got them. Okay.
So there's a lot of these. Oh, I forget. There's short ones and real ones. This would be a short one, yeah?
This will be a short one, yeah.
Real time. Real time. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll mix them up and pick a number between 1 and 8, or roll for 1 to 8.
Yeah, roll the 1d8.
Make it totally.
I got a 3.
1, 2, 3. Flee in panic.
So I drop my rifle and I run out of
You are
the
compelled to get as far away as possible from your current predicament.
Yep.
Use whatever means available to you.
Is there a
you
horse
run,
outside?
You run and keep on running for 1d10 rounds, and then you fall on the floor exhausted.
Okay. Well, I'm going to roll 1d10.
Yeah.
I'm going to roll 1d10 for that. So you won't know how many rounds you're going to be running for.
All right, because I rolled a 9.
Okay.
And it says that at the end of that, you make a hard constitution roll, and if you fail, you pass out.
Okay.
Okay, so Beaumont bravely decides to go off and check on whether the wagons are arriving.
Yeah, I'll check on the wagons, guys.
Oh, I think I left the gas on.
Vive l'America, and he runs.
So he's off. And you know, your only intention at this point is just sort of make for the drive and keep going.
Okay.
No, you know there are plenty of soldiers down there, and that seems like the best idea to you. So I think that's everyone for this round of combat, isn't it?
Yeah.
And anyway, he has disappeared into a cloud of smoke. Now, it's very hectic. You're in the heat of battle, in the heat of close combat. So I'm going to ask you to make a spot hidden roll, not necessarily to see something hidden, but just to see how much attention you're paying to what's going on.
What was this, a spot hidden?
A spot hidden, yeah.
27 out of 55, hard success.
Fail.
42 out of 45, so whatever it is, I just barely see it.
69 out of 70.
It's difficult to see because as the smoke dissipates, it initially looks as though it's just settling on the floor. But for a moment, you think it actually seems to be rolling out of the room through a side door.
Okay, so I'm going to shout at some of the soldiers. You men, begin to clear these people out. You, put this fire out. And then I'm going to go charging towards that door.
Okay. Well, again, there's no resistance from the aristocrats or the servants. Quite a lot of the aristocrats are now standing up, and at least half of them have taken off the animal heads, and they just look completely out of it. Like they not even. I mean, they stink of drink, but it's not the drink that you can see. It's just like they literally don't know where they are. And the same is true of the servants. So you can see one or two of them looking about this room like they've never been here before.
It is the devil's magic.
So the soldiers don't have any trouble at all in subduing these people. These people are subdued. Very
Good.
much.
They're filth.
Now, as you race around the corner after the smoke, it's moving quite quickly, and by the time you get out into the small hall, which you take to be some sort of serving passage, where servants would bring things to and fro from the ballroom, you see the last few wisps of this smoke moving in a strangely coherent manner. The last few wisps of smoke just flit under a heavy-looking door at the other end of the hall.
Come out, demon. Face the king's justice. And I'm going to make my way towards the door. Is it locked or
It's
barred?
properly locked. There is a big hasp and staple and a large, quite substantial looking cast iron padlock.
Heavy wooden door?
Yes. It's a heavy wooden door with big metal studs in it.
I'm an engineer with an axe. How long do I think it's going to take me to take this thing down?
Oh.
Is your
It's,
axe a battle axe or is it a wood chopping axe?
Yeah, it's basically kind of between the two. I mean, it's like a utility axe, basically.
So I would say if it's a battle axe, it would probably wreck your battle axe.
Yeah.
Well, it's it takes a few chops for you to get the measure of the door, and you can see that this is quite dense old oak. This is a well-aged old door. It's going to take some real effort to get through that.
Ugel, you're a sneaky fucker. Can you get through this door?
That's what I was just thinking. I don't have that. But what about if you get the hinges? Just the hinges.
These are like those big black metal iron hinges.
See, I have sleight of hand, but that doesn't encompass locksmith, correct? Sleight of hand is more pickpockets.
You could pick someone's pocket and steal a key.
Right.
Is this a padlock, did you say?
It's a padlock, yes.
So with your axe, the back end of your axe, couldn't you smash the lock eventually?
What about shooting it? Put black powder right into it and ignite it.
That probably, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Pour it right in, stop it with the cloth, and ignite it. Or bring in the swivel gun.
While they were doing that, and I was still on the floor for part of this, I saw what Babon tried to do. And if any of those spices and things fell into a pile on the ground, I'm going to try and scoop them back up again so that I can. It gave us an advantage.
There would be no way of doing that. I mean,
all right.
You think about it for a moment, and then you look down at the floor, and the floor is a mess of
stuff,
scraps of food, straw. The whole floor was covered
hay
in
and straw.
Anyway,
I probably still have the bag like wedged between my fingers, anyways, because I didn't connect.
Yeah.
But the stuff still went everywhere, didn't it? So.
Well, I didn't hit anything. Like, it was just in my bag. I was trying to shove the whole bag into his mouth with my hand. So.
Okay. Well, if you still have
it. I'll let you have that. But you've still got that bag, yes.
I've probably forgotten about it at this point. I'm just too focused on the door. Speaking of which, I've got mechanical engineering or mechanical repair. Can I try to use that to pop this door quick?
You can. You'd need quite a good roll, though.
Well, here goes.
I'm heading towards where you guys are.
No, that's a fail. Okay.
No, you think about possibly trying to pop out the hinges or unscrew the screws holding the husband staple, but none of it's accessible. It's a very well made door.
Is there any windows near here? Could I get to look to the outside to see if there's any windows beyond this door?
Well, I mean, if you can scout around inside and outside if you want.
Yeah. Well, what are the walls made out of? It's stone?
Yeah,
Yes.
probably block.
Yeah.
It's probably it looks like it's probably like a cellar door or something like that going downstairs. That's my guess. I grab a hold of Pressy to bring him along too, and Beaumont. And I look at Pressy and I say, "Good." I said, "You were way too pretty before."
Good my ass. I'm bleeding all over the place.
So am I. And I point to my club and I point to my scars and I say, "Welcome to the club."
Yeah.
You're
So
not just bleeding. How much sanity have you lost so far?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only lost like 3 points.
3 points.
3 points.
Well, I mean, it's not, it's not enough sanity to have a sort of an effect from it. As you know, that's 5. But having lost even just that much sanity, I'm going to say you are having something of it's not an enormous life-changing event, but at the moment you're having just quite a slight crisis of faith. Because you've been raised to believe in certain things, and when you place that cross on Fenelik's face and nothing happened, it's as though doubts you'd been harboring for a very long time suddenly came to the forefront of your mind, and a lot of unresolved issues from your past come bubbling to the surface. Now, it's not what I'd characterize as an episode of insanity, but it's more just
Crisis of faith.
yes, a crisis of faith, and you feel yourself quite distracted by it.
Could we call it Cthulhu mythos? The realization of what's going on, or
No, I don't think so, because you haven't really encountered a mythos entity as such. To you, this is a vampire. This is still a thing. It's a thing of myth, but it's something you know of already. It's
Right.
something your grandmother would have told you stories in front of the fireplace about not going out at night because there are vampires. And also at this point,
Perhaps since I walked from the
Prague.
church. Yeah, I walked away from the church. Perhaps my faith not being there for me and the cross not being there for me when I needed it.
Bear in mind, this is a point in history at which rumors of things like vampires and in France at the time, particularly werewolves, are rife. There are still quite active werewolf legends and recent cases of rumored lycanthropy.
we saw one in the catacombs.
I don't even know if this is really a supernatural thing. I mean, my faith had no effect on it. The cross had no effect on it. Perhaps there's something to there's just something about the natural world here that doesn't make sense. Because what I'm assuming to have been a vampire, they should have been affected by my faith. It should have been affected by this symbol of my faith. None of it makes any goddamn sense. Where are we going, Dupois? Why are we going down here?
Stop that monster.
Why do you think he came down here?
He is probably trying to get back to his coffin. Do they not have to sleep on a bed of the soil from their own land? He's not from France. He's from somewhere else, Germany maybe.
Seems to me like rules don't really apply to Fenelek.
We don't know. He seemed to react badly to garlic.
He was allergic to garlic.
We also saw him transform into different animals as he walked through the house.
I don't know what I saw. That could have been the lighting, something because of all of these fools dancing with these damn animal heads on their shoulders. I don't know what I saw.
Anyways, I put my hand on Christophe and I said, listen, you know the scriptures. The apostles came to Jesus and said, there's a man with a demon and we are not able to cast him out. And Jesus said to them, some of them are stronger than others. This one is strong. And you are not an apostle. Hopefully that comforts him, because I think it's all bullshit. And
Okay.
Not a damn bit right now.
What is your plan of action with this door then?
I'm gonna try to whack the back of the axe against the actual lock itself if it's a padlock and see if I can knock it free. I mean, I'm a pretty strong guy, D4 damage bonus. So.
Okay. Yeah, give me a roll, gun. And I'll give you a bonus dice as well to hit that because it's a static object. It's not going anywhere.
I'm going to suggest afterwards we grab the table and batter it.
Well, it's been a night for hitting things really well with my axe because it's another art one.
Cool. Okay. In that case, well, that's well, I think if it's a critical, then it's gonna have to be a you catch the padlock just right, and I don't think even you were quite sure what you were intending to do when you hit it. But what you've succeeded in doing is that you've just basically opened it. Somehow you must have jolted the mechanism just enough or hit it in just the right place that it's just cracked it open. And it's just hanging now on the hasp and staple.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna try to remove the padlock. And is there like a slide to it?
The door has a handle, a conventional handle.
Okay.
Once you remove once you remove the padlock, you notice there are also a couple of bolts at the top and bottom of the door as well. They're very easily open. Then it's just a matter of turning the handle.
Okay. Well, I guess I've got a wooden hand and an axe in one hand.
We should grab another lantern or two before we go through.
Sure.
Oh,
And get ourselves well armed.
where is Beaumont?
Our muskets.
Everyone gather your equipment. This is not over.
We are supposed to bring him in alive, but I wouldn't hesitate to fire.
Can we send one of the soldiers to get Michelle?
Where is
That's what she-
Michelle?
He ran outside to look earlier.
We don't know where he went. We don't have time.
So I'm saying send a soldier.
Beaumont, just to update you, Beaumont, you are very nearly at the gate
Okay.
of the estate now. And we're at about 2 rounds.
Okay.
Do any of the soldiers maybe stop him from running? Because he looks like he's trying to get away. Wouldn't they find it suspicious?
Hopefully they don't try to stop him with the swivel gun.
He's a very large man. And because of his stature, very recognizable. So they know who he is. Also, he's got quite long legs. He's moving quite fast and running in a very determined way. Now, from the perspective of the soldiers, he looks as though he's been told to do something quite urgently.
Okay.
So they're unlikely to stop him as a result of that.
Although I'll say, because I took such a hit on my my sanity, as I'm running away, I will say something like, "I do believe in ghosts. I do believe in ghosts."
But in French.
But in French, yes.
Okay, well, in that case, as you're running past some of the soldiers, occasionally soldiers are turning to other soldiers and saying the 18th century French equivalent of "fuck."
Putain.
What was all that about? So, the door. The door opens, and behind it, darkness. And as whichever of you has the lantern, I think it was Ujel, wasn't it? As you lean in with the lantern, you can see a rather steep flight of stairs descending into pitch darkness.
I'm gonna pry the bag of seasoning from the garlic bag from my hand and hand it to Dupois. I think perhaps this will do more use in your hands than mine.
I'm a good throw.
I noticed.
All right. So, do we need more lanterns?
I'll go grab another lantern. I'm gonna hang it over my wooden hand and just hold it out.
Okay. And we have out our muskets with the bayonets affixed.
Okay. Yes.
Do we need a marching order?
Any muskets that have been fired can be reloaded before you go down. You could probably, at a push, manage to fit down 2 abreast, if you so wished. Single file would be a lot more comfortable, but you could go down 2 abreast if you needed to.
Well, when we get to the bottom of the stairs, let's spread out so that we are all in a group.
Okay. Well, what order are you going down in?
I'll go first.
Who are the front 2 and who are the back 2?
I'll go right after. I'll go second after Duplat.
I'll go next.
I guess I'll bring up the rear with my lantern. I don't know who else is bringing one.
I had one, and you have one.
Okay. Going down into going down these stairs, you find yourself in what you take to be a cellar. And this cellar must be a great deal older than the house itself, because it's made of very old, rough stone. In many ways, it looks more like a dungeon than a cellar. At first, there are just rough walls on either side, but after about 15 or 20 feet, you encounter the first of what seem to be a series of barred doors, gates.
He can pass through them with no trouble at all. He's a gaseous form.
The bars on these doors they're old, they're rusted, pitted. There's a sound of dripping somewhere from inside the place. It's damp. There's a faint but very recognizable smell. A smell that any soldier recognizes. It's the smell of death and decay. Occasionally you can hear a squeak in the distance from rats scurrying around. And as you stand at where these barred doors are, there's just enough light from the lanterns to see that there are, as far as you can tell, perhaps 3 of these barred doors on either side of the passage. And then the passage goes off further beyond that. You can't see beyond that. It's just darkness beyond that.
So we're in a corridor. There's 3 barred doors on each side. And is there a barred gate in front of us?
There is a barred gate in front of you. There's a barred gate at the foot of the stairs, but it's open.
Okay.
So you've already walked through that.
All right.
So the barred doors, yes, they seem that. Well, the 2 you can only see into the 2 rooms that are nearest to where you are at the moment.
Okay.
And they seem, I mean, they look more like, well, they're probably not caves. By the looks of it, they were probably man-made, but
like this
very roughly so.
Like maybe this was a jail at some point in the past.
It has the look of a dungeon about it.
Okay.
If it wasn't intended to be, it certainly looks like one now. But the 2 rooms where you are, they look quite barren. Doesn't seem to be anything in them. One of them, the one on the right hand side, looks like it might curve round to the side slightly.
Okay. Should we just go forward? What do you say, Sergeant?
Before we go too far, I'm going to turn around that barred door that's open behind me. I'm going to whack the lock mechanism with my axe to break it so that it can't be locked behind us.
There is no lock on it.
Oh, there's not?
There's a big bolt, but no actual lock.
Okay, like you could slide it into place, but then you'd basically be able to open it up again.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the way the lock is mounted. There's a big, somewhat rusted metal plate, which looks like it's designed to stop people from reaching round to get to the bolt.
Okay. But we're on the side that has the lock, or we could open it.
Oh no, it's on the other side. So
I'm going to sacrifice my bayonet and just shove it in and try and kick it off in the hole. It goes into something, right? Like the bolt goes into the wall, or into...
Oh yes, yeah, it goes straight into the wall. There's just
I take the rifle, stick the bayonet in, and try and snap it off into so you can't close it.
Give me a strength roll.
I'm going to have to pay for that.
42 out of 55.
Okay, now give me a luck roll.
23 out of 59.
Okay, you succeed.
Nice.
The end of the bayonet snaps off, in the hole. Had you failed the luck roll, I was just going to make you. You'd have a bent bayonet at a right angle.
I was just hoping it would work. So.
All right. But now the ones on the sides are locked. So.
Well, they may be. I don't know.
Oh. Well, I will check the one on the right and see if it's locked.
The one on the right does not appear to be locked.
So I shine the light into there. Are they like jail cell room, or is it bigger than that?
It's quite a big room. I mean, it's about 30 feet deep and about 10 feet wide. Okay. And it looks like it curves around a little bit to the left at the sort of just before the end, maybe about 2 the way down.
I put my hand behind me to tell the others to stay back, and I'm going to move into it and see if I can see what's around the corner.
Around the corner is a small alcove, which is also barred. But these are just bars that are mounted into the rock, into the stone.
Okay.
Not a door. And in the alcove, there's a sort of like a big dark shape. It looks like it might be a pile of rubbish or a pile of old clothes or something.
Okay. Shine the light up higher.
Give me a spot hidden.
43, which out of 45. Just barely makes it.
It appears to be the remains, almost mummified, but partially rotten remains of a boy of about 12 or 13.
Mon Dieu. You all see me sort of
almost desiccated.
You see me sort of back away. My God.
What have you seen, Dupois?
And there's nothing else that I can see.
No, nothing else in the room.
I come back shaking my head.
Give me a sanity roll for that.
Yeah. A 15.
Well, I won't make you.
I'll take 1 point at least.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know how to say it. He is not only murdering fully grown men, but children. There's the body of a child.
He's just pure evil. We must put a stop to this.
In my son Caesar's name, I will cut his head from his body. Let us continue, my friends.
We need to make sure, though, that we can prove all of this. This place we need to get the captain here, but we must stop this phenolic by whatever means possible. I want to see him hung in the middle of the street.
I believe the arrangement was that the captain and Dr. Rigaud are due to arrive in the morning.
Okay.
Although a specific time was not given.
Okay. I'm visibly shaken. This is about the only time you've ever seen me visibly shaken. I didn't expect to see children.
Except when you forget to have your morning drink.
Well, that's not this hand. That's this hand.
You could really do with a drink right
I
now.
really.
You really could. Okay, so what next then?
We will continue.
Okay.
Check the other side. So it's
Okay.
right, left, right, left.
The other side is also open.
And I'm sort of hanging back this time. Somebody else can
Okay.
go look.
Who's going to go and look?
I'll go up there.
This one doesn't need a spot hidden roll. It's more a case of just walking into the room. As you get about halfway through the cell, you reach a point where your lantern illuminates the back wall. And at first you think it's the remains of someone chained to the back wall. On closer examination, it becomes clear that it's a cadaver. So decayed to the point that you can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. But it's the almost skeletal cadaver of a human being that has been nailed to the wall, or almost in a parody of the crucifixion. For that reason, I'm going to ask you to make a sanity roll.
Fail.
1d4.
3. It's been a total of 6 sanity loss since the beginning of the interactions with Fenelek.
Okay. Do you want to do the cards?
Well, he said a total.
A total of 6, yes, since we saw Fenelek.
But not all at once, though.
Correct. I'm not sure how we're playing that, so I'm just making sure that I'm sharing.
I'll tell you what. If it's a cumulative thing, we'll deal with that. I think.
Usually after.
I think the rational way to deal with that within the game is that we'll deal with the effects of your sanity loss at the next stress point. Because at the moment you're just poking around in the dark. Nothing's happened to really sort of. You haven't really encountered a stressor right now. But we would say at the next stressful event, you're going to have some kind of reaction.
Right. At this point, we're also expecting now to see dead bodies because we've seen them already.
Yes.
I start backing out of here. Yeah, and I just say it's another body. It's been here for a long time. Just keep going. This isn't the coffin.
We need to find his coffin. Check the next 2 rooms.
Well, the next 2 rooms are, well, they're both locked, but that doesn't really matter so much. The one on the right, you can see by holding the lamp through the bars a little and squinting, you can see what appears to be a very classic and traditional torture rack. And moving the lantern and rocking the lantern about to try and change the shadow to get a clearer view, you're fairly certain that there is a relatively fresh human body on that rack. I won't make anyone roll a sanity roll for that because, as Tom said, you're expecting to see dead body, and you can't really see it. But at the same time, you know that's what it is. There's a slight hint of a sort of irony, bloody smell in the air still. You know there's a fresh body in there.
Right.
Can't see it clearly, but there's a shape on the rack, and your soldiers, you know what that's
Sure,
about.
sure.
Similarly, the cell on the other side of the passage is also locked, and in there, again, another very traditional torture implement. This time, the wheel. You can't see whether or not there's anyone on the wheel. If they are, they're on the opposite side of it. But you can see a table in there as well, and the table seems to have various, let's just say, implements upon it. Moving further, you come to the final two rooms. Now these, well, and the room on the right, where the door's open, you can see it's rather incongruous because it's a horrible, damp stone cell, and in this horrible, damp stone cell is a really rather beautiful piece of carpet. It might be some sort of Oriental rug, Persian or Turkish or Arabic or something. You don't know anything about rugs. You have no idea, but something like that, something exotic, and it looks expensive. And to one side of the rug, on the rug, is a rather beautiful chaise longue. And on the other side is a rather nice, quite low, lacquered table, upon which are a couple of whips and a length of chain and what seem to be woodworking tools, chisels and gouges. And at the other end of the room, just a few feet from the edge of this really immaculate carpet, there are two bodies lashed together. One of them wears a bridal veil, and the other a rather nice suit of clothes.
Those from the other day.
You don't recognize them, but they look quite young, in their early 20s. One of them is a woman with long blonde hair. The other is a man, quite dark complexion, dark hair. They're both dead, and their backs have been whipped down to the bone. And quietly leaving that room, you find another room opposite, which bizarrely is set out in exactly the same way as the room you've just been in before. A different rug, but still rather opulent. This one has a few spots of blood here and there. It's not as immaculate as the one in the other room. But a chaise longue, a table with various implements, different implements this time, although there's still a whip there. And at the end of the room, what would you call it? A whipping horse, like a vaulting horse,
Right.
lower. Or it possibly might have been an ottoman at some stage. It may have been converted. It's difficult to tell in this light. And lying over it again, whipped, burned, bloodied, is what appears to be the body of a man wearing a rather expensive red silk dress. Give me a spot hidden roll.
Did not pass.
Okay.
72 out of 55. Nope.
Fail.
57 out of 70. So I passed.
Visual, just as you stand in the doorway of the room and cast your light about, you notice that just behind the chaise longue, there's a little table, small table, it's a pedestal table, and the top of the table is about no more than 10 inches in diameter. And on that table sits just a single, very expensive looking cut glass wine glass, a lead crystal wine glass. And as you sort of peer at it and go and have a closer look, initially you think it's just got some traces of red wine in the bottom of it. But picking it up and looking at it, because this might be worth a few bob, a few sous. You see that the substance in there has congealed in a way that wine most assuredly does not.
It's blood. He's a vampire.
It smells like blood, I'm sure, right?
Smash
Or
it.
just that rot. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Are you okay for going a little over? Because I'd just like to get this next bit out of the way.
Yeah,
And then
I'm good.
Yeah.
Time to end.
Okay.
Right. The passage extends beyond these 6 cells that you found. And you're half expecting to see more cell doors. But instead the passage continues. It winds ever so slightly. It was not winding about, but it's not straight. It's a very roughly hewn passage. It narrows a little. You have to go into single file at this point, and it's not a well-made thing at all. This is a very amateurish excavation. After a few minutes, you see a sort of a glint of something at the end of the corridor. And you realise that there must be a room there, an opening. So you continue walking towards it. And as you reach the opening of this room, the first thing that strikes you is that in the center of the room, standing on a dais or pedestal, quite low, is a large porcelain figure. And it seems to be shimmering with a sickly iridescence. And as you look at it, its face is remarkably carved. It seems to be looking at you with a pitiless, ageless quality. But hang on, as you all move closer to it, no. This can't possibly be. Dupois. This is a statue. This is a statue of your wife, Ugel. This is a statue of Joseph. You can see it's clearly Joseph. Even it even has his wooden leg, his peg leg. And Pressy. There's no mistaking this. This is a statue of Melody. But looking at you with a look of pitiless contempt. And Baban, is this your son, Césaire? Why have they made a statue of your son, Césaire? What is a statue of your son doing in this man's cellar? Can you all make a sanity roll for me, please?
Pass.
Ooh,
I failed.
I failed too.
That's 1 for a pass and 1d8 for a loss.
Ouch.
Ooh. 3.
4. Keeping it under control, but barely.
Well, would someone like to make a spot hidden roll for me, please?
10.
20 out of 55. A hard success.
50 out of 70.
There appears to be, well, 2 things really catch your eye. The first thing you notice is that there appears to be some sort of dark liquid leaking from the bottom of this statue. It seems to be, you can't really tell where it's coming from. Middle of the leg, ankle, could be either. But it just seems to be oozing This dark red liquid leaking slowly at the base. Make a listen roll for me.
No, I don't hear anything.
Definitely not.
Critical fail, 99.
I got an extreme success, 15.
Cressy, you can hear moaning. It seems to be coming from inside the statue.
There's something coming from inside the statue. It's
She's
like
my wife.
Is it a male voice, female voice? Can I tell?
It's indistinct.
This is my wife, Sylvie.
This is witchcraft. This is Joseph.
There's somebody in the statue.
Do not touch it. It is demonic trickery.
I heard it. I know I heard it.
Where is the Comte?
Well, Baban, as you say that, as you say, do not touch it. This is demonic trickery. You instinctively take a couple of steps away from the statue, and in doing so, the light from your lantern shines on the back wall of this cavern, and you look up at it. And there on the wall, you can see limbs, human limbs, hundreds of human limbs, arranged in some sort of pattern. Some of the patterns repeating from time to time, almost like some hideous language. Make a sanity roll for me, please.
11 out of my remaining 62. So whatever that's worth.
1 point sanity.
I passed 16 out of 63. 1 point?
Yes.
Do these look preserved, or are these like skeletal?
They are not preserved. They're in various stages of decay, ranging from quite fresh looking to slightly rotten. There's none of them that old. None of them are mummified or skeletonized. They none of them could be more than a few weeks old.
None of them are moving or anything?
No.
Okay.
But they
There
appear
are
to be,
arms?
there's arms and legs. There's one or two bits that might possibly be sort of intestines, but for the most part, they're arms and legs.
Merde. What madness is this?
Where is this monster?
Along the back wall.
Do you think he's in the statue?
Are there any doors? Does anyone see anything? Where could he have gone?
Well, shining the light around the room, you do see on the side walls what you first take as cupboards, low cupboards, or perhaps packing crates. But looking closer, they appear to be coffins, which seem to be in use as sort of improvised tables. And there are a number of scrolls on there. Yeah, I'm going to say you'd recognize. It looks like it might be Arabic. most of it is writing, but you do see one or two bits that have very, very graphic depictions of skinning and torture. Just above it on the wall is a bookshelf, a small shelf containing just a few rather heavy, very very old-looking books. And give me another spot hidden roll.
69 out of 70.
Hard success. I needed a 32, and it got exactly that.
17 out of 55. Hard success for me as well.
Nice.
You hear what might be a low hissing sound, and instinctively you find yourself looking up at the ceiling, and it takes a moment because it's difficult to see anything. You only have the two lanterns, and the stone is as I said, it's badly carved, it's pitted, it's not finished, it's it's a rough surface. But looking up at the roof of this chamber, you begin to make out a series of small holes, perforations, and the hissing grows just a little louder, and from the holes you start to see faint wisps of smoke descending into the room, and a cloud of smoke starts to spread out over the ceiling until, like a great white disc illuminated by the lamplight, it hangs ominously over the top of you. And that's where I think we'll leave it for this time.
Excellent.
I'll also point out that by this point, actually, Bowman, can you, before we end, Bowman, can you do a Constitution roll for me, please?
Yeah. 62 out of 50.
Okay. You find yourself running down the lane, out of the gates, towards Poissy. And there's a sense of relief in your heart when you see two wagoners sitting in front of a wagon, sharing a bottle of wine and chit-chatting. And there's something very reassuring and very calming about the normalcy of this sight. And you slow a little as you reach them. You slow to a trot, and then a walking pace. And you hold up your hand just to introduce yourself to them, in the hope that they might share their wine with you. And they look at you. They're soldiers like you are, wearing the same uniform, and they smile at you, and one offers you the bottle of wine, and you reach out to take the bottle of wine, and at that moment everything just goes black and you fall flat on your face.
Mm.
And we'll leave it there for this week.
Our players included Wayne Worthy, Fred Carter, Luke Strom, Jason Melnichuk, and myself, with Mick Swan as the Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows. Punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. This is Tom Riley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.